Killing Our Daddy and Eddie.
Okay.
And who are the Goldfires connected to? Joe Tocco, Giacalone, Detroit Mob, the Old Purple Gang. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of crossover.
Yeah, maybe one day you do one on how Miami, the cocaine built Miami. That'd be a great one.
But gotta give Frank Nitti Usher his roses.
There we go, and I just label it Frank Nitti. All right, Frank Nitti Usher. Take one.
Courtney Brown Jr. in the house over here at Big Boss Filmworks Motown Mafia podcast production. And who we got here?
It's Big Lou, aka Authorized Dealer.
Big Lou in the house. Lou Stevens, other partner in the other half of Big Boss Filmworks, who've been putting down yeoman's work since day one, decade plus.
Yes, sir. Yes.
It has been a ride. So, Lou, you had started doing some stuff. I think they can go back in the archives. What was the first one of your real ones? Did you drop the real ones?
The first real ones was actually Fairly.
Okay.
Fairly was the first one with the concept, with the documentary, the split screens and everything. Second one was Maserati Rick.
And then Ed Hansen, or was it then?
Well, yeah, it was Ed Hansen and then Maserati Rick.
Big Ed Hansen, then Maserati Rick.
Yeah.
And then we just featured
Sylvester
Seal Murray, and and so shout out to all those legendary people and their family and friends out there.
Yeah.
Again, here we as we said, we tell the story of life in the struggle, and those who don't know what the struggle is, well, you can ask somebody.
Yeah.
It was history with all those people who did what they did in the streets, and we know in our community, I don't know why we like to sometimes act like street life is not a part of the urban experience for so many of us. But sometimes our people we've been traumatized. I come up with a hypothesis.
Okay.
And that is sometimes the reaction people get to our kind of content, it's based upon the trauma of drugs in our community. Mm-hmm. So many other factors that it's easy to point at the hustler,
right?
If he hits a certain level, to connect him with your trauma. But no, our trauma started 500 years ago when they put us on the boat. That's where the trauma began. It did not begin.
Accurate.
It did not begin with Maserati Rick.
No.
And Big Ed Hansen.
No.
And Fairly. They're not the perpetrators of that trauma that many in our community feel.
That's right.
But we're here to talk about an absolute Detroit legend. No, you heard his name. No, God rest his soul.
Yes,
your
I
father,
have.
Omar.
Yeah.
And people of that era. A gentleman by the name of Frank Usher, known around these parts, and known because his name rang all over. Frank Nitti Usher. Absolute legend in this town. Has been chronicled. Al's done some work on him.
Yes.
Al Prophet. Shout out to Alan Bradley, a.k.a. Al Prophet over there at American Dope.
Big up, Al.
And along with that is his man. Shout out to Scott Bernstein, Gangster Chronicles. Scott's also done some work on Frank Nitti. Of course, Al and Scott were integral. All were producers along with Lou here and myself in the making of the award-winning documentary Motown Mafia, based off of the book Memoirs of a Kingpin, Motown Mafia, Memoirs of a Kingpin's Kid. Of course, the doc's available on Amazon Prime and Tubi TV, and the book is available on Amazon. So Al's done some work on Frank Nitti Usher. Scott's done some stuff on him. So I don't know if you know, when we were growing up and me and Eddie are living next door to each other.
Okay.
On the other side of the bridge, well, as Manny tells Tony, we're not the only dopers on the block.
Okay.
Frank lived right on the other side of the bridge.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, he was out in Southfield along with us, Wakefield.
Well, right, exactly. And then we had the article
chronicling all of the massive, the high-level hustlers of that day, and it all kind of congregated out in this very affluent suburb called Southfield, where me and Eddie grew up at.
Right.
So Frank was out there then. I didn't meet him then. Pop, of course, knew who he was, and Pop and Eddie obviously ran all in the same circles. Later in life, we shared a lot of mutual friends, and I actually had dinner with Frank Usher.
Okay.
Frank Nitti Usher. I had dinner with Frank. We were at a mutual friends event, and maybe about 6 months. So R.I.P. of course to Mr. Usher. And whenever me and Frank were bumping each other, it was always casual conversation. Always say, "Give regards to your old man."
Yeah.
And you know, despite of his reputation and the infamous name of Frank Nitti, I think the lawyer Steve Fishman and Al's doc Roland says it best. If you met Frank Usher and didn't know that was Frank Nitti Usher, you'd think you were talking to the local school teacher, principal. Very just mild-mannered.
Right.
Just
like your father.
Yeah, just a mild-mannered guy. I believe Frank comes up off the North End.
Okay. Close to where I stay.
Close to where you stay.
Yeah.
But Frank was tied in with shit, everybody, but his claim to fame and street legend is Frank was tied in with the Detroit mob.
Right.
Men like Tony Giacalone, who ran the operation for a guy by the name of Joe Tocco, who was the sitting godfather of Detroit for years. So this is where all the nexus, I believe, as they call it. So
Okay.
follow with me, so the audience hopefully follow with me.
Right.
Frank Nitti getting a great bag, making tons of money out there in Southfield with Pops and Eddie. But Frank dealing with the Italians out of Detroit. Joe Tocco, Giacalone, that crew, right? Eddie dealing with the mob out of New York, the Gambinos.
Right.
Carmine Lombardozzi, a.k.a. Doc Gambino. His boss is Carlos Gambino, the boss of bosses. Joe Tocco, the godfather of Detroit, is the national consigliere for Carlos Gambino, who is the sitting head of the Mafia Commission. So obviously at a very high levels there had been discussions, because these things can't just happen by accident, that Frank gonna deal with we'll let Tocco and Giacalone, those guys are gonna deal with Frank, and Detroit at this time had so much money going all around that it was plenty for everybody to go. Eddie's doing his thing with us out of New York.
Okay.
And everybody getting to the bag.
Right.
And they got to a big bag. And then there's more overlay. Shout out to if you're down there ever on Beaubien, if you've ever been down to 1300 Beaubien, the old police station, or over there at Frank Murphy Hall of Justice, there is a little place by the name of Goldfarb Bail Bondsman, owned by the Goldfarb family, longtime friends of the father and family. R.I.P. to Irving Goldfarb and his brother Chuck. And I'm going to just throw the word out, repute, even though it's factual to Chuck. You know, Chuck Goldfarb had to sit down because he was accused and then convicted of hiding his interest in some Vegas casinos. Chuck Goldfarb, very well connected with, again, the Tocco Giacalone situation. But we know Chuck Goldfarb and Goldfarb Bail Bondsman because they were the ones writing those $1 million bonds for the 32-man indictment that kept Eddie and the old man and 5-0 and Rudolph and all that crew out of jail for 7 years while they're fighting their case. Every time the feds would come in and demand a higher bond because they had lost something in the lower courts, it was Goldfarb and them who were backing them. They, of course, when Nicky Barnes was to get arrested, who bails out Nicky Barnes? The Goldfarbs. This is all now going on as Las Vegas is really booming in the late 60s, early 70s. Right here in Detroit, again, there's a guy, Jimmy Hoffa, who's the president of the Teamsters. Who is, if you've seen the movie Hoffa, or what was the one that just came out with, The Irishman. The Irishman goes into some of this stuff. Jimmy, it's just factual. Jimmy was dealing with the mob.
Mm-hmm.
And the people he was answerable to were some of the mobsters out of New York, but definitely the mobsters out here in Detroit.
Right.
And same kind of thing. Something like that couldn't happen the way Hoffa disappeared without the people in New York signing off on it, and surely the people in Detroit signing off on it.
Right.
And the monies that were getting generated in Harlem by people like Nicky, the people like Eddie Jackson and Frank Nitti Usher in Detroit, lots of that money was going to the funding of Las Vegas becoming what Las Vegas is today. And when they tell the story, obviously Benny Siegel and Meyer Lansky and Lucky Luciano started the thing, and it was their vision, the pioneers of it all. But as history would progress, it's not an accident that Vegas's large expansion happened during the same time of the golden era of the jive raw hustle.
Yeah.
Right?
The infamous H.
And a lot of the money's coming out of places like Harlem and Brooklyn and Detroit went into doing that thing. So to get the record straight once again, and then you could even go back further, all the way back to the inception of Vegas. Brothers like Bumpy Johnson, who was already hooked up with those guys who would eventually start Vegas, because Bumpy was doing business with Lucky Luciano and Meyer Lansky and Benny Siegel, that whole crew, and channeling and funneling a lot of that money out of Harlem that did go into, funding Las Vegas.
Indeed.
So like all parts of world history and American history, the footprint of the African American is there, and a part of that footprint is always going to be his activities, because it's America, and America's business is business.
Because America is a business.
Because America is a business. So yeah, just trying to throw some fun facts out there and give a shout out to a Detroit legend. Again, with all this media attention that the Detroit crime or street culture thing has been getting, because it's going to happen. Shout out again to G Unit and the Black Mafia family, the Meech and T and Lil Meech and all of them. We're gonna talk a little bit about Lil Meech in a minute. With what they're doing with the BMF series,
right?
And we know because we in that world. There's still so much more interest and potential projects that are going to come out about the Detroit era in the 70s and in the 80s and in the 90s. And that's why what we're doing and the people we're networking with, Lou. Because if the other people get to say it, like we said about Seal Murray, other people tell the story. They have been and left out a guy like him, and you can't talk about Detroit during that era without talking about Seal Murray. And you can't talk about Detroit damn near from 1970 again to the turn of the century if you're not talking about Frank Nitti Usher. If you're talking about this thing, this game, this hustle, his
Definitely.
name go up there.
Ring bells, man.
With all of them, and his influence in this town crossed a lot of different paths. So again, I did have the pleasure of having dinner with Mr. Usher before he transitioned. Again, he was a friend of Eddie's father, friend of my father's. Just a Detroit street legend. So shout out to Frank Nitti Usher. Those guys and the monies they made, a lot of the stuff that's going on in this country, like you're saying, what were you saying about Miami? We got to talk about another post.
Yeah, definitely how cocaine built Miami.
Yeah, and the brothers and they hustle helped. They didn't build Vegas, but they damn straight helped it grow.
They had some bricks in the wall.
Yeah, man. So what else we got? Tell people where to holler at you and all the stuff you're doing, Lou.
Check it out. Flyers plus graphics. Hit me at Instagram. All the thumbnails that you see. If you need thumbnails for your YouTube channel, hit me up. I can lace you up with something nice. We are doing brand opportunities here at Big Boss Filmworks. So if you're interested in getting your commercial on, holler at us.
Speaking of brands, I'm wearing this shirt not by accident. It is for the culture. This is what Derica, Eddie Jackson Jr.'s niece, the granddaughter of the Fat Man, launching a T-shirt line.
I love the name of it.
Love the name for the culture because we, here we've been talking about we do this for the people from the struggle. Well, the struggle is part of the culture.
Absolutely.
Even though we don't condone struggle culture.
Yeah.
So don't get the riddled.
Yeah.
We understand the struggle, and we are for the culture, but we are not for the culture of struggle culture.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
On that note, so
you guys will have to rewind that one time.
Yeah. We
you'll get it.
I'll give it to you real slow. We are for the culture, and we at Big Boss are about life in the struggle, but we are not about struggle culture.
God, no.
We are about winning black excellence and all of that kind of thing. But you're gonna get you put some descriptions in the comment how you can reach out, because it'll be linked. You'll be hearing more about For the Culture.
Yeah.
Everybody out there, next month can look it up online. Hustle and Grind Book Fair, sponsored by Michelle Moore. Shout out to the homegirl. Michelle Moore is the author. She is an Essence Award-winning author. Say You Promise Publishing and doing all kind of other stuff in the publishing world. She is the woman that, in conjunction with your aunt Anita Flanagan, really brought this project home, which was our first venture kind of in this thing, which is the book Motown Mafia, Memoirs of a Kingpin's Kid, which of course led to the award-winning documentary Motown Mafia. So the book is available always on Amazon, and the documentary you can check out on Tubi TV for free, or of course if you got Amazon Prime. So Motown Mafia, story of Eddie Jackson, Courtney Brown, award-winning documentary, and the book Motown Mafia, Memoirs of a Kingpin's Kid, also available on Amazon, along with all this will of course be at the book fair, Hustle and Grind.
Yes.
And we got some t-shirts and all kind of promotional. So if you guys are going to be in the Detroit area, it's going to be right off that Linden Livernois area.
Yeah.
It's and a lot of big shots are going to be there, so it's always a great event. Check out Big Man on Campus. It's kind of a fictionalized version of my life during college. We're going to have some promotions going on about that at the Hustle and Grind. And then also, lastly, but surely not least, shout out to Raymond Tatum, Getting Off Zero Atlanta.
Big Ray.
We got Mind Right, Money Right, Getting Off Zero, the starting points of one's goals, aspirations, and dreams. Really give you some motivation and some history about some things that's really sharing our victories and our failures and our triumphs and our victories and all of that. But that's going to be a good time, Hustle and Grind.
Absolutely. And just watch out. Patreon's premiere of Making of the Mafia coming next month. Exclusive content is going to be available. We got some exclusive things we're doing with Uncle Butch this spring. Yeah. Shout out to Tommy Sharp, a.k.a. the Black Dispatch. And season 6.
Shout out to his boy Peas. Holla at your man. You need to really go get back with Peas and definitely gonna get back with Unc. Some exclusive stuff with the man who owned Detroit's version of Warren Buffett, the Wizard of Wall Street himself, Eugene Moore. Just one of the great unknown African-American entrepreneurs in America, not just Detroit. We got some exclusive stuff with him. He's not a real public kind of person. He truly is for those that know, and those who don't know, well, unfortunately, you just don't know. But
one conversation with him, you'll learn a lot more than you did before.
He's one so large in life, he's willing and looking for ways where he can share. So he's even talking about doing some classroom stuff.
That'll be hot.
Breaking down real estate, how he accumulated his 7-digit. I said that again I'm gonna say it again real slow. His 7-digit real estate portfolio, his 7-digit bar businesses over the years. Not 6 digits, 7 digits. That extra zero is a big deal.
Very.
How he's never, carried any debt for over 3 years, paid off all his mortgages, used to own everything on 6 Mile from Hamilton to Livernois. Half the bars, if you came up in Detroit in the 80s and 90s and even to the 2000s, even to this day, you could be eating or having a night on the town and you're inside one of his places and you wouldn't even know it. But that's going to be some of the stuff we got on the Patreon channel.
Big time.
Shout out to our new sponsor, Bags and Bundles, Miss Boss Boutique, located at 16311 West 7 Mile Road. It is Detroit's premier wig and hair shop and ladies apparel. So any of you sisters out there, make sure you stop by again, 16311 West 7 Mile Road. That is Miss Boss Boutique, bags and bundles. All the things that a woman needs to be the woman that she want to be is there. If you come into the shop there and you just mention Big Boss Filmworks, mention Lou, or mention me, the good people there are going to take care of you and give you a discount.
Ain't that facts? And to everybody in the comments, thanks for taking the time to say whatever it is you got to say. Continue. Tell us what you think of the show. Tell us what's on your mind. Whatever you got, drop it.
There it is. That's what we do, because this is Motown Mafia Podcast, which is proudly sponsored by Big Boss Filmworks,
baby.
So, holla at you, man. You got anything?
That's about it for this evening.
All right, so please, family out there, hit that like, share, subscribe, and...
I do have one thing.
All right.
Big shouts. I had a great time at Sweet